All right, guys, I'm bringing you another Bills breakdown. This is a video of me competing back in January, or I can't remember if it was January or December, but the point is, it was only my second competition back to competing, and especially it was only my third competition at the black belt level. Um, and I think if you look at the competition that I did before this against Overton, or I'm sorry, David Overfield, you'll see that there's a lot of improvements in this match, but it's certainly not my best work. And it goes to show how important it is if you want to compete to just do it often, because the next tournament, I take some of the lessons from this one, and this one I learned so much. It was a good loss for me, because I got lost in the sauce. I made some mistakes, but I also had the chance to attempt some things and learn how to do things a little differently in the future, which is ultimately the goal of everything we're doing here, right? So I'm not like, it's a little cringy when I watch it back and I'm like, oh, what was I doing? What was I thinking when did that? But I think there's a lot of value in doing that, in watching it back and learning from those things. And I do things very differently now because of it, which you saw in my last breakdown when I was doing those matches. Um, the wins I had in those matches made a big difference. So let's take a look. This is versus John Toth, who is he's a badass out of Detriot Jiu-Jitsu. He's done a lot in the past, a lot of Grappler's Quest, and this was kind of his first journey back too. It was a fun match. I'd love to have it back. Hopefully, John would love to do another one someday. He's a super nice guy. If you're ever in Detroit and have the chance to train with him, you definitely should. But let's get in here and I'll start kind of breaking things down. I'm going to turn the sound off just because it's always distracting to me. So you're going to see it start off. I start off with a mongoose stance. I love doing this. I for a number of reasons. Let me kind of take this guy into slow motion and explain what I'm talking about. We don't have to do slow motion, but you're going to see me drop in, and my lead arm is much closer than you expect. It's hard for him to shoot a single because I have the underhook here. The high hand makes it hard to kind of throw a triangle up. It's just a real condensed position that's very difficult to deal with. I learned it from David Porter, and I've seen a lot of wrestlers use similar things as well. It's just a really good stance for me to kind of enter and sneak in close to get that left-handed collar grip that I like so much. Boom, right there, I get it. I'm gonna have to stop saying boom. Now, I'm trying to get dominance on the left-hand side here, or his right, my left. And you can see that I'm going into this grip set. I like to hold the collar high, and I prefer to keep a hold of this hand, specifically at the wrist, because there's a situation I like to do and get basically what is the equivalent of a Russian drag on with a gi on. His base is pretty good and he feels pretty strong, and I'm not moving as well as I feel I could. I'm a little heavier in this video than I'd like to be. But the point is, you're going to see some grip fighting going on here for a moment or two. So I just decide to switch and I come back and he lets go. So like I should have, so this is a cringy moment to me. Right here when he lets go, right there, I still have this collar, but he came in high with the other hand. I have a pummeling series I do from here where when they come in over here, then I switch to the other side. But I feel like I could have kind of made this work anyway. I should have gone either kept this and swept the leg. You can see my base is back real hard. I feel like if he'd have just ankle picked instead of reaching up here, I feel like if he'd have just gone boop, I'd have been down. And maybe that was his game plan, but I adjusted. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not happy with how I handled this. I'm way off balance. He's got good balance. I'm not winning this grip game at this particular moment. So I switch again to basically the same situation. I like to get this. Now my goal here what I would love to do is drag. I'd like to take this foot back and drag him in to get high on him. But he I think realizes he's not in an optimal situation because he's going to try a trip. And then he'll pull guard right off of it. So I shouldn't have let that happen. I don't like that cross grip there. So he tried to trip, and then he's like, nope, he pulls guard. Now, this is where I get lost in the sauce, guys. So I didn't expect him to pull guard, if I'm being totally honest. So when we get here, I'm kind of surprised to be there, which you should never be surprised to be in a situation. And if we go back just a little bit, I could have been way more aggressive here. This I should have just circled to his back immediately. Instead, I kind of sprawl a little bit to keep him off this leg, but then I just kind of stay there. And this is where you're going to see me kind of just sticking in positions. A little better than I did before in the previous tournament, or in the previous super fight, but this is just not a great look for me here. So yeah, I just kind of stayed. I should have circled and taken advantage of his miss. So right here, I'm doing okay. I'm trying to clear this foot. I would love to start passing out here to the right, but he does a good job of getting my grips, and I've got to deal with that. Then he goes under. I sink down to avoid the sweep, and I don't know what I'm thinking here, to be honest with you. Like, I don't like that he has this grip. This leg up is a good idea when they've got this grip because it protects the arm bar. I'm a little concerned about the omoplata for a moment, but then he starts coming down here, and I immediately recognized that he had grips for a pendulum sweep, but for some reason, I just didn't take action. I should have just dropped this knee, brought this one back up, and I'd have been fine. He couldn't have pendulum swept me. He would have been, it would have been back to the omoplata, which, in my opinion, is a better defense for me than dealing with this pendulum sweep and possibly ending up on the bottom. But he's actually going to pull it off because I guess the best way I can describe it is I'm having tournament jitters where I feel like I'm stuck in quicksand, like I'm not moving like I want to move. So I put it back down, recognizing, oh, there's a pendulum sweep here. And right here, I'm like, ah, crap, I'm in it. Like I recognized that I was done. And if you've never seen a pendulum sweep, this is actually a flower sweep. I apologize, not a pendulum. He does a great job. This is very technically done. He's controlling this far leg, and he's going to use this leg to start lifting me up. You'll see my butt move away from my feet a little bit. That makes my far leg, my right leg out here, light. And he'll use this foot to block my leg on this side, which brings me up and then over. A pendulum sweep, he would actually extend this leg out and then use that momentum to do essentially the same job. This is a flower sweep because you're kind of growing up and then sinking over. So if you didn't know there's a difference, there is a difference between the two. I actually have a very old video on it on my other account. So see, he'll drop it down, up and over, and I come out. So this is a good recovery on my part. I did good here once I recognized. I simply accept the sweep. Let's go to single leg X. Let's see if we can make something happen. He's doing a good job of staying heavy here, and this match made me realize how much work I needed on single leg X. So after this, I started doing a lot of drilling on single leg X, and especially even after the match that I don't have a video of. It's a no-gi match a little bit later in the year. But you're going to see me make some mistakes as well. So he puts his weight forward. That's fine. What I should have done, you always have the should have done. See, I'm keeping him back and off of me. That seems like the right thing at first, but it's really not. What I should have done is planted this foot, lifted this into his butt, and driven him off in this direction, which would have made his leg extend, and I could have either come up on a sweep or I could have attacked the leg. I can't really attack it. You can see I've got a very shallow grip here, so it's hard to get like an ankle lock situation going. He's going to sit his weight down, but had I done this differently, bump, kick him up, now it's a whole different ball game. In this hand, I'm just pushing with it as opposed to pulling. His weight's coming forward, Bill. Pull. What the hell, man? So he's gonna sink. He's gonna just take his time here, which is good. And that's one thing I really learned a lot from John, is there were a lot of moments where I saw him just relax. He just closed his eyes and just relaxed. And it was a very good opportunity for me to learn from a seasoned competitor how to just be calm in those situations. And I learned that from him there. So that was really awesome. So John, if you're watching, thank you. All right. So here he's doing a good job sinking the weight. He's being very cautious, making sure he's safe. I'm sure he's dealt with a lot of this kind of stuff. He's probably more concerned about leg locks, as popular as they are. But I'm not really going to invert on anything here. That's just not me. So he starts to make a move, and you can see my position breaking down like pretty big time here. Now I do manage to keep his leg. I think he'd love to just backstep here and get out, but yeah. Now let's look at that hook. Um, this hook is something I do. Let's go back just a smidge. Right there. So this hook is something I do to trip up someone's leg, and I get away with it a lot. What I want to do here is pull it back in, kind of this way, and then he falls to his side. But I'm up in this kind of useless position, is what I call it, where when your shoulders off the ground and your legs are off the ground and you're just stuck on your butt, there's not much you can do from there. So it's all leg strength to make that happen. I would much rather have been, again, down and pulling, so that when I pull this, I can then sit up and push and kind of get like a teeter-totter action going. So you never really want both up in the air like this. This V position I'm in is a bad position for me. And you can see what happens is he just sits right into it because it's not a problem. Now I dig under, and you're going to see me use this hook again. This is something I've done a lot over the years, is I'll use this back hook to lift here, so he's stuck on his knee, and then I'll drive and try to bring him up. But he does a good job, and I'm very lazy on my stand. So you see I'm doing that. It spreads him out. He's relatively flexible, so good job, John. And I let his knee move back. So let's look at that. It's subtle, but it's there. So when I hook, which will happen here, look how close his knee is to my butt. I need to keep it there, lift and drive and move his hips past his knee. But he doesn't allow that to happen. So what he does to compensate is he lets his knee move out and be his base. And then my stand is so damn lazy here. It happens quick, but what's going to happen is he'll open his knee, and then I kind of lean forward, which just lets his foot slip right off. And I even remember in the middle of the match, I'm like, fuck. I was like, man, screw you for that. And he laughed a little bit. But, it put me in a bad situation. So he just opened his knee and stepped over, which, had I come up with the posture, just decent posture, would have saved me a lot right here. So, but I didn't. And so he didn't. See how I bent over, and then it just basically fed him the pass. I think I feed a half guard here, and then I really don't have anything that I think is going to happen with that choke. I'm just trying to freak him out. I am concerned about his grip up here. I'm concerned about him bringing this second hand in to the collar and sinking in for a cross collar choke. So I should have kind of kept this. It would have helped me a little bit later. But eventually here we're going to get to so far it's been a bunch of failures on my part, right? I did force the guard pull, but I've broken down at every, and when I say failures on my part, it's also good things that John's doing. It's not just me sucking. He's doing good jiu-jitsu. And he takes the mount, which is kind of expected in the situation we were in. And he stays real calm here. He waits for his points. And I remember very distinctly, this is a funny thing, hearing his coach say, okay, you got your 4 points. And I was like, oh yeah, there's points in this tournament. Like it wasn't even in my mind. That's how much a beginner I am when it comes to competition. And it's part of what I wanted to do with this, was learn how to compete better. So yeah, that's a big thing to remember, All right, so we continue with the match. He's going to go for an Ezekiel, and quite honestly, it was kind of tight, but I wasn't overly concerned. I have a thing with Ezekiels where a lot of times I can sweep people with them, but instead I'm just looking to mess with his balance a little bit, and he can feel that he's not quite getting it. You see me just kind of wait it out, and eventually he's going to let go. Right there's where it got the tightest, and he's like, okay, that's clearly not going to work. Now I do have a setup here. This is something I taught a seminar for in Bellingham, and it doesn't seem like it should work. Its weakness is the Ezekiel choke, but you're going to see what happens when they try that here in a minute. So what I'm doing here is I'm framing 2 hands on this far hip, right underneath. I'm stepping over his foot, and you're going to see my knee start to drop. So I'm putting a ton of weight on this far leg, and I'm controlling that same hip and putting pretty much all my weight here on this shoulder. So I become very, very, very heavy on this side, and it's hard for him to move his leg. And you're going to see his balance get challenged here, and you'll see him do a lot of adjusting because it's just very awkward for the person on top. even though they're on top, the person on the bottom feels heavy. And that is one key to jiu-jitsu that you should always remember. So right here is the situation. You see him basing heavy out on this hand. He's like, okay. So he brings out the other leg, which is a common thing that people will do, trying to feel like what they should do. He's trying to feed in this Ezekiel. It's kind of tough. Again, you see him kind of struggling for the balance. And this is actually a pretty good view of it. You can't see, but a ton of weight is just coming down on his leg right now. And I'm pinning his foot underneath me too with my foot. So I'm not just stepping over and he can just pull his leg up. He's got my elbow in the way. He's got the weight of my leg, and he's got my foot holding his foot. So it's very challenging for him to get this leg free, which keeps him extended, and it's real uncomfortable. And he's doing what most people do in it. They end up bringing this hand in, and I'm noticing he brought it in. And then this is the second most common thing is people will do this. They feel like they're going to use their weight to drive you back over, but it's really hard to do because of the pinning of the foot here. So this isn't really that effective as you would think it is. It's just a little uncomfortable. Now at some point he's going to start bringing this hand in. I'm going to try to time it and upa, and he'll base, which most people do off of this particular method of doing it, which gives me an easy escape. Right there, boom, I try to time, come back in, and I'm out. Little shrimp, and I'm out. Now, here's a huge mistake, guys. I needed to get my butt to work here. I'm flat on my back in basically a half guard with a hook, and it's not even a strong hook. I wasted time here. I should have kept going. Now, I do eventually get out, but like the fact that I'm just laying here, he probably could have just jumped over this leg. But I do get back to a half guard, and I don't really do much from it. I get good grips. I don't go on the attack. I don't come back to guard. I just kind of lay there holding his collar, and that's just a huge mistake. So he steps over, just like I said he should, and he'll keep threatening that. Now this arm, see how I pull it? He'll actually take it up and grab my collar right about now, I think. And as he right there, he grabbed it on the transition. And as he came through, he then switches this and goes to the bread cutter, and the game's over. So, good match for John. Very good learning match for me. And it just goes to show you can't judge everything you do. Obviously, I'm not competing at the level I want to, but that's valuable as well. Even when that happens, that's extremely valuable to you to go through these videos. If you can, take video of every match you ever do. Even if you never intend to compete, take video of you rolling sometimes just in your academy. Have a couple days and make sure your training partners know that you plan to go hard in those couple matches. Don't just like surprise attack them. That's kind of a jerk thing to do. But just be like, hey man, I want to kind of test myself out for a couple matches. Is that okay? Some people aren't going to want to, some people will, and film it and see how it goes. And then dissect the film and say, man, what did I do there? Or even go to your coach. Hey, what could I have done better here? It's an extremely valuable thing. Guys, I hope you got something out of this video. Do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe. Go follow John Toth on Facebook. I don't think he has a YouTube channel, but if he does, definitely follow him there. He's a great guy, super nice guy, out of Detroit Jiu-Jitsu. Definitely look him up and visit their school if they're in town. Don't be afraid to look mine up and visit me too. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot.